So a panel of judges is currently on a fact-finding mission. They have to ascertain facts and then advise the collegium led by the Chief Justice of India on the next course of action and whether a case needs to be pursued in the right earnest and investigative agencies brought in for legal procedures to move forward systematically. So three-member High Court panel of judges appointed by the Supreme Court, it is probing that burning pile of cash that was found at Justice Yashwant Varma's residence on the 14th of March. The Chief Justice of India had appointed an in-house inquiry panel in this case, and India Today gets you details of what the three-judge panel has been doing so far. There are big inputs coming in from India Today's Nalini Singh. My colleague gets us more details on this big story. So what we are being told right now is that Justice Yashwant Varma is likely to be called upon by the three-member inquiry panel soon to answer certain questions about events on the 14th of March and the alleged recovery of that burning pile of cash, that stash of cash that was found burning, his inputs on it. Justice Verma had sought, we are told, again this is sources telling India Today, Justice Yashwant Varma has sought legal advice ahead of his appearance before this three-judge inquiry panel, and a team of lawyers are now being consulted on the road ahead. Sources are also telling India Today that the Honorable three judges intend to conclude the probe at the earliest. Remember, they're sitting judges and chief justices of high courts. They've left their work behind to carry forward investigations in this fact-finding case. They will place all the facts that they've ascertained in front of the Chief Justice of India, and the probe is expected to continue for the next several days until all witnesses have been examined in this case. And what we have now been told that during the course of the inquiry in the past 2 days, all evidence gathered so far by the committee is now being examined by a panel of experts. The committee has sought help and assistance and guidance from forensic experts to examine evidence so that everything is as accurately put together as can be. Justice Verma is likely to be confronted with some of the evidence when he's called upon by this committee, and that's a big scoop that India Today's Nalini Sharma gets for us, and we'll go across to her in just a moment. Justice Verma's personal secretary, and this becomes very important. Justice Verma's personal secretary apparently asked the Delhi police officials who had arrived there to leave the residence on the night of the 14th of March and come back only the next morning. Sources are indicating that this is a major lapse on the part of the Delhi police. When a call was made to the police, when the police team arrived there, when the fire brigade arrived there, why did the Delhi police team leave immediately? The scene of that incident was compromised that time itself. And I want to bring in India Today's Nalini Sharma for more on this. And Nalini has been painstakingly gathering details on investigations or the fact-finding so far. So Nalini, this becomes extremely interesting. Who asked the police to leave? Is this documented? How does this become very crucial and critical to the fact-finding so far?
Gaurav, the first thing that we need to remember is that on the 14th of March, when this fire incident had occurred, neither Justice Verma nor his wife were in town. In fact, it was only his staff and his children who were in the house. And that is essentially why, when this fire broke out, the staff and his daughter had informed him via the telephone. There were, in fact, even police officials and fire officials who were both present at the location. And keeping that in mind, Justice Verma had specifically said that the staff had specifically asked the police to ensure that the police leaves at that particular time of the night and comes back only the next morning, is something that is there even in the report that was put out by the Supreme Court as well as the Chief Justice of India, and that's we've also gotten to know from multiple sources that this had occurred. So the big question that's arising at this particular point is that why was the police asked to leave, and why was that spot where the fire had occurred on the night of the 14th of March not secured and not preserved by the police authorities. It was essentially due to this that sources have suggested that due to this major lapse by the Delhi police is why the scene has been compromised, and as to whether or not there is still any viable evidence that they've managed to get from the spot is something that we'll know only once the detailed report of the 3 judges panel is out. Another thing that we're getting to know is that the videos that have been accessed by the 3 judges panel, those videos are going to be shown to Justice Verma whenever he is called in for appearing before the inquiry, while asking him questions, while asking him to explain how that cash had reached his house, whether or not it belonged to him. So he will be confronted with the kind of evidence that the team has gathered over the course of the inquiry of the past 2 days. And Justice Verma, on the other hand, is also prepping for his defense. He's of course taken legal advice. He's sought legal advice from at least 2 senior advocates and 2 lawyers who had visited his house late on Wednesday. This includes senior advocates Siddharth Agarwal and Arundhati Kadju, along with advocates Tara Narula and Stuti Gujral, who had all visited Justice Verma's house on Wednesday to prep him for the kind of questions that he can expect from the inquiry panel when he has to appear before them. We still don't know a specific date when he is going to be called, but sources have confirmed to us that it's going to be soon, because the entire inquiry is working in an expedited manner, because the judges want to close off this entire inquiry as soon as possible and submit the report before the Chief Justice of India so that next steps can be taken in accordance with that.
So Nalini, stay with me for a moment. What I want to understand was, when this incident happened on the 14th, Honorable Justice Verma wasn't at home. That's point one. Again, Nalini, when the so-called evidence apparently disappeared, and can you tell us the status of that evidence when that disappeared? Was he again wasn't there? So how does it's only his premises. Is there anything that directly links up to Justice Verma in this case so far?
Well, Gaurav, it's really interesting the way that the things transpired between the 14th of March and the 15th of March. Because 14th March, close to midnight, is when the fire happens, when Justice Verma and his wife are not at his residence. The fire officials come to the spot where they put out the fire. They are also the ones who recorded that video that has now caused such a stir amongst the public and has gone viral. So it was the fire officials who did all that. There were police officials also present on the spot, but the police officials, by the personal secretary of Justice Verma, who is now also in the spotlight, were asked to go away and come back the next day because Justice Verma was not at his house. Now, it's important to remember that the personal secretary of a sitting High Court judge is also in the capacity of a judicial officer, although of course not that of a High Court judge, but still a judicial officer, which is why the police did not refute a lot of the things that were being stated, and they went away on the night of the 14th of March and came back only the next day. The reason why this is crucial, Gaurav, is because it's clearly stated that there is a possibility that on the early morning of the 15th of March, before the police officials came back, there was some debris from that outhouse that was actually removed. So whether or not that included some of the currency notes that were found, or any kind of remains of the cash that was found, that was even seen in the video, is something that we don't know, which is precisely the reason why even the sources are stating that that area was compromised, and there is a good chance that evidence might have vanished in this entire matter, which is why it's a major lapse by the police to not secure and preserve that area. In fact, the preservation of that area was done yesterday on the orders of the inquiry committee, 12 days after the incident had happened. So what is the point of doing that? Still seems vague at this particular point, why the cops did not act earlier regarding this. But at the same time, on the 15th of March, when there was a visit to Justice Verma's residence by the Registrar General of the Delhi High Court as well as other officials, they also visited that room, and whether or not they found something in that room is something that we will get to know only once all of these witnesses have been examined and a report is put before the Chief Justice of India.
What would be very pertinent to know at this stage, Nalini, is what did CCTV cameras see? Were CCTV cameras also looking inwards? Were they only looking outside? And of course, do keep in mind, there's that 70th Battalion of the Central Reserve Police Force of its Foxtrot company is deployed at his residence, and somebody would have been on duty 24/7. So the Delhi police may have gone, but then CRPF personnel were still there.